All right, so let's go ahead and go over some problems to kind of explain graphing exponential and log functions. So right here, right now, we know and we see we have a log function. So that means we're going to have a vertical asymptote. How do I know we're going to have a vertical asymptote? We're going to have a vertical asymptote because I'm going to have an x value. So I have a shift here, a horizontal shift, meaning my log function moved from left to right. So I'm going to set this be equal to 0, right? So I'm going to set that equal to 0. So that means x for me is going to be equal to -6. So I'm going to have a vertical asymptote at x equals -6. So I'll go ahead and click on there, click vertical, and I'm going to set my asymptote at x equals -6, right? So you see the line x equals -6 will give us a vertical asymptote. So now what I want to do, I want to be able to use a calculator here. Personally, in my preference, I would rather have a calculator so that we can kind of graph, but really just use the logarithm to be able to change the base so that we can see where our points are going to come from. All right, so right here, right now, I know I have the vertical asymptote here, right? So I know my function here has to be less than -6, right? It can't be greater than -6 because if I put in a greater number, it's going to get smaller, right? So if I put in 7 here for x, that's going to be -7 minus 6. So that means on this right hand side, my graph will not be on this right hand side. So that means my graph has to be somewhere over here, right? Because I know if I put in a number here that's a positive number, it's still going to be negative. And I need these numbers to turn to be positive so that it can be greater than +6 because I have a negative x minus 6. So that means first number I'm going to try is the first number on the left hand side of the asymptote. So right here I have -7. So if I put in -7 for x, it's going to give me a -7, which is in turn going to be positive. So that means I'll end up with 7 minus 6, right? And as I go to my calculator, you see what I have on the screen, log of 3, 7 minus 6 minus 8 is going to give me a -8. So that's my first point I want to plot. I want to go to -7, -8, right? Because I know that's a point on this graph. And again, I just want to use numbers on this left-hand side, right? So let's just try -8. We want to try -8 next. So we know a negative is going to turn into a positive. So if I put an 8 here and they give me a decimal, which I see on the screen, I know that's not going to be the answer, right? So I know I'm going to have to go to a different number. So right here, right now, let's try 9 and see what happens. 9, in fact, gives us a whole number. So we see 9 minus 6 is going to give us a -7. All right, so right here, right now, I know that -9, -7 will be one of my answers. So I go to -9, -7, boom, and I go ahead and plot my point, right? And let's just go ahead and hit submit and see if this suffices for this graph. It does. So again, to find out the asymptote, we're going to take our shift, a horizontal shift, what is that -x minus 6 piece, set that equal to 0 or so for x. And then I'm going to just plug in, figure out on which side of the graph is it approaching. Is it approaching the left-hand side or the right-hand side? All right. Let's go ahead and work on another one and see where we can get to. All right. So this is an exponential function. So I know for a fact that this exponential function is going to be a horizontal asymptote, right? My horizontal asymptote here, f of x, right? So for horizontal asymptotes, f of x will always be equal to c, right? C is your constant number part of this polynomial, of this exponential function, right? We don't have a c here, so we know our asymptote will indeed be at 0, right? So again, we don't have a C here, so we know a horizontal asymptote will be at 0. All right, since my horizontal asymptote is at 0, I now need to think about the X values I plug in, right? If I plug in the X value that's in the positive direction, let's say for instance, I plug in an X value that's 1. So -3 times 1/2 to the 4th power is going to give me a negative number, right? So that tells me that since it's going to give me a negative number, these numbers are approaching this line from the bottom up, right? So that means anywhere below this line, that's where my graph is coming from. How do I know? Because that -3. So the -3 times a fraction raised to a power means that 3 is getting smaller and smaller and smaller because of that negative sign. If the negative sign wasn't there, I would say that my answers will be above this line, right? And so right here, right now, I can just kind of do some algebra, kind of do some math to figure out what I want to plug in. But right now, let's choose x being -4 and kind of see what we get, right? And so one of the reasons why I wanted to use -4 is because I knew -4 plus 4 would give me 0. Any number raised to the 0 power would be 1. So right here, right now, I should have -4, -3. So let's hit go and see what answer they give us, right? So you see it's going to give us a -3. So right here, right now, my first coordinate point I want to plot is -4, -3, right? And so now I know that this point is going to get closer to that line. So since it's going to get closer to that line, I just want to know at -5 what happens. So I just want to go one down. So that means -3 times 1/2 will be my next point, right? So let's go ahead and put that in, right? Let's see if it gives us a whole number by plugging in a 5. It indeed does, right? So that's going to give us a -6, right? So right here, right now, I know -5, -6 will be my next point, right? And you can kind of see how the graph is looking. It really looks like it touches that line and crosses it, but trust me, it's just getting closer and closer and closer. All right, let's submit our answer, see what they think. Correct, right? And so that's two totally different problems, two totally different types of answers, right? And so again, I don't want to take a whole bunch of time with these. And so I'll create another video to show you guys so we can keep one this short. But if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.